مثلا Shevuot Daf Amud Aleph, 6 lines down. New Mishnah. Must be alechem. If a guy says to two witnesses that I want you to swear imlo tavo v'te'oni that to testify for me. Sheyesh biad ploni that I have that someone else has my pikadon, the deposit that I gave him. Utuma in a loan. V'gezel and he stole my item. Ba'avdeh a lost item. Shavua and they reply to him, we swear, and it was false. Or he said. So they swear, we swear that we don't know anything, testimony for you. And only have one if they lied. Shavua, however, they said, if we don't know, that someone else has your pikadon, they specifically spelled out each item, deposit, loan, stolen item, or lost item. That's considered separate swearings and separate chiyuvin. Someone says to the guys, I want you to swear if you don't testify for me, that someone else has, that he has my wheat, barley, and spelt. Shvuah, they said we swear they don't know anything. And for one. Shvuah, however, they said they spelled it out. We don't know testimony about your wheat, barley, and spelt. For each one. The guy says two witnesses, swear for me, in mutlav de'oni, sheyesh biyad ploni, nezek, that I swear that that someone owes me damages for something to me. Hatzi nezek, or half damages. Tashlim kefil, double payment. Right? Tashlim kefil is a case where the guy stole money and denied it. So he owes me double. Usashlim chamisha, or 4 or 5 payments because of they stole my animal. Or payment, shenas ish plana or someone raped my daughter and therefore they owe me money. Upitabiti, or someone seduced my daughter, they owe money. There's certain fines for those. V'sheikana b'nir, that my son hit me, and therefore it happened on Yom Kippur, and he hit me without causing me a wound, rather, and therefore he's only chayav for shame, right? There's no wound, otherwise be chayav mita. Or v'shechavabi havirar, or my neighbor wounded me, or v'shehedlik et gedeshivim karinor, he lit my grain on Yom Kippur on fire. Harei l'chayavin, they're all chayav in this case because they would have caused the guy to lose money. Now we're going to go through one thing at a time in the Mishnah. Must be on the day knas. What's the halacha if they want him to testify regarding a penalty, a knas? Is that considered money or not? So according to the Aliba that according to Rabbi Shimon, that's not a question that he holds. Let him testify. If they testify, they have a penalty. So therefore, there should be no question to be chayav if they testify falsely. Or they swear they don't know it, rather. When does the question apply? I leave the Rabban Akon Chamim. In the case if the guy admits, all right, so we know if the litigant admits that he lied or he owes it, and then witnesses testify afterward, he's patur because modeh beknas patur. He admits in the knas, makes him patur. Okay, so according to that, maybe the witnesses would not be chayav because maybe the guy would have admitted it. Right? So over there, who do they hold like? They agreed to the Shimon over here. But over here, the problem is because why? Something that can lead to money is like money. And therefore, even though it's separated by a step, it's still considered money. In the case of penalty, should be chayav. According to Hamim over here, something that leads to money is not considered money. How can they explain this case? Maybe since over here, since the guy would admit, then he should be considered, it's not going to be considered money because maybe the guy could admit to make himself patur. But maybe we say the opposite. Since he didn't deny it, since he didn't admit yet, he's still chayav, and therefore it should be chayav for testimony because the guy, it is considered money. The market testimony is being proof. If someone from our Mishnah, if guy says, come swear, and it's like hazinazek, we see damages or half damages. Half damages is considered a knas, right? So there's two ways of looking at half damages or a penalty. Is a penalty, and we're going to go through this now, is a penalty the knas by the Torah? Is it that I owe you money and the Torah is specifying how much you owe me? Or I don't owe you anything and the Torah makes me pay you something? There's a difference. The first way is looking at it, I owe you money. Second way is I don't know anything, and the Torah is giving a special halacha of knas, penalty. But seemingly, this case, the Mishnah says half damages. The Gemara says, "Kiman the marks according to the opinion that holds pagel nizkan money." According to the opinion that holds that half damages is considered regular payment, not a penalty. So, only fits according to the opinion. That only fits according to the opinion that holds that half damages are considered a penalty. But according to the opinion of the whole, that's considered money. So according to the opinion of the whole, that it's a knas rather. ما يجي already explained in Mishnah. ما says حتى نزل the خطاج ميلا the monahu. We say no, that the special throwback ببكما. This is talking about a case of Hatzi Nezek, is talking about Hatzi Nezek of Tzorot. Tzorot is one of the animals walking and pebbles start shooting all over the place, and therefore Halacha Moshe Messina that you only pay half damages, even though you should pay full damages because your animal destroyed something by stepping on stones and it shoots out. But the Torah says you pay half, so therefore it's not a penalty. It's not a thing that you're not chayav for. On the contrary, you're supposed to pay $100, but you're paying $50 because of the Torah. That's the half damages. Okay, Tashma bringing from Mishnah to Shulchan is the case double payment. Our Mishnah is chayav double payments. You see, you're chayav proof. You're chayav for penalty cases. The Gemara says not proof. Mishum karma. The reason why you're chayav is not because of the second half of the payment, the double payment, but the principal, the first $100, not the second $100. Okay, next case Mishnah, Mishnah 4 or 5 payments. We see a chayav, but also consider penalties. Gemara says mishum karma again because the principal, the first amount of the animal. Next case, Shanas ish plonet bita beti, the case of rape or seducing, also is considered a penalty. The Gemara says no, mishum boshet bekam. That payment is not necessarily penalties. That's because of embarrassment and her value as a wife or ketubah will go down from 200 to 100 zuz as a no longer a bitula, no longer a virgin. That's the case. Kulam mamanahu. What's the Mishnah teaching you? All the same cases are Ramon. Why did the Mishnah have to mention each one? The Mishnah says no. Reisha hada kamashman. Each case of the teachers is separate. Reisha hada kamashman was the beginning of the teaches you the hatzin is a surah mamanahu. That the half damages of the case of Mishnah is considered surot and it's considered. It's talking about a case of monetary payment. Say if I had the and the second part of Mishnah teaches you that what? That what? The guy who lights a fire of grain, my grain on fire, Yom Kippur, this excludes what case? Excludes the following halacha. Tana, he says, right? So he says he holds that someone were to go Mechalel Shabbat, the same way that if they were to light a fire, light my item on fire on Shabbat, since the Chayam Mitah, uh they're patur from my grain. He holds that even though Yom Kippur is quote unquote only karet punishment and not mitat bedin, even so, the punishment of karet would make him patur from grain. Our Mishnah says we don't hold like that, and therefore, if you light my grain on fire, you are chayav, even though you're chayav karet. Tashma bring proof. Someone tries to make witness to swear that what in you don't testify for me. That someone said that my daughter was in the betula after marriage, and they swore falsely that they didn't know that testimony. They have to bring a korban. If the guy admitted by himself he's patur, so we see over here it's considered a penalty. If the guy was able to admit that he lied, he's patur. So therefore, we see a chiyab for penalty, or the witnesses would otherwise be a chiyab for a penalty. Remember, says how many is according to Rabbi Shimoni, the Amar he holds that he says okay, let witnesses in a case where the guy admits that he's guilty, let witnesses testify afterward, make him chiyab, not a proof. It still be chiyab afterward. Anyway, say for 1 second. The next part of the Brayta says, "The guy admitted he's patur." So we see that he is chiyab. Atana Banan disagrees to Chachamim who will argue against Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. So the Brayta can't be found according to Elazar. The Gemara says no. Kula Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon needs all according to him. The Brayta teaching as follows: We can't find a case where the guy in the penalty admits on his own that he's patur. Only when there's no witnesses. And he admitted by himself. But if witnesses would testify against him even after he admitted, be chayav. So we see that this type of penalty is not necessarily a regular case penalty. It's like a regular case of money, and that's why if the witnesses swear falsely, they don't know testimony, they would be chayav. Next Mishnah. אם לא תבוא ותעיד לי שאני כהן, שאני לוי, שאיני בן גרושה, שאיני בן חלוצה, שאיש פלוני כהן, שאיש פלוני לוי, שאינו בן גרושה, שאינו בן חלוצה. Right, so if the guy is swearing on cases where there's no money involved, I swear that you testify that I'm a Kohen or a Levi or the son of a divorced woman, or that I'm not son of a divorced woman, that I'm not son of a Chalutza, I'm a good Kasher Kohen, or that someone else is a Kohen, or someone else is a Levi, or someone else is a son of a divorced woman, or someone else is a son of a Chalutza. They is not sorry, not they're not those. They are Kasher Kohanim, or Shanas Ish Ploni at Bito Pita Bitor that. Reuven raped someone else's daughter, or someone raped someone else's daughter. V'shahabi bini, or my son wounded me. V'shahabi havrai, or that my neighbor wounded me. V'shalik b'deshiva Shabbat, or they let my stack of grain on Shabbat. All these cases that there would be no monetary money payments in all these cases, and therefore, if they swear falsely, they don't know testimony. Because there's no money involved. The reason why you're patur is because each money kohen testifying that he's a kohen, that each money levi is a levi. Let's say what it said that. Oh, testify that Reuben is owed $100 from Shimon. Hayavin b'chayav haktan nisef. But the next part of Mishnah says in Lamed He, it says. The only reason you're patur in these type of cases because the guy who's owed the money does not claim it, right? So I can't say swear that you know testimony for Ren for Shimon that Reuven owes money to Shimon. Shimon has to ask them to swear. What's the reason you're patur? The Gemara says, "Amar Shmuel, beba harasha." To a case where he has power of attorney, and since he has power of attorney, he can ask. The Gemara says, "V'amrin and the says, lo katvin and urchet tadamatata." We don't write power of attorney for a collection of money or movable objects, only real estate. The Gemara says, "Hanami that only applies hecha the kafra where the guy denied it. Ava lo kafra, but the guy did not claim it, did deny it yet. Katvin, you can write it. There's no reason to not do it. There's no words escaping me right now, but there's no people, no one's denying it. Okay. How do you know that the pasuk of swearing about testimony only applies to money? But the other Rebbe says, all right, it's been a given so far. Now we're going to explain it. The other Rebbe says from the following: Nemar kan o'in, v'nemar dan al'in. Mentions the word "o" by a testimony swearing, and also mentions it by swearing about a deposit. Just like over there's money, over here there's money also. And the word also written by a murderer. That's definitely not talking about a case of money. That's talking about a murder. It's granted there's an O there, but over there there's no Shevuot, there's no oath involved. It's just talking about murderer. So we compare the O of a case of swearing about deposit to the case of swearing about a testimony. We don't mention the O of Roseach as a murderer. No Shavua, no connection. The Gemara says, okay, in the Sotah Yachichu Shehen in B'yeshin Shua, Madarin Shlot of Amon. 1 second. The Sotah also has a swear, and it also has an O, and still there's no money. The Gemara says, no, it's different. Still different. Tanino in Shesh Benim Shua, the anyone Kohen. No, in Shesh Benim Shua, but anyone Kohen, Eichu in the Roseach, Shehen Shua, Eichu in the Sotah Alpino Shua, Eshin Kohen. It's true. Or, however, of deposit and oath are distinct in that there's a Shavua, there's money, but there's no Kohen involved, which the Sotah has, and there's the Shavua, which does not apply to a murderer, right? That's the distinction. There's a Shavua, money, by the case of oath of deposit and oath of a testimony, versus a murderer and versus a sotah, which the sotah has a kohen involved, and over here there's also kohen involved. Okay. He brings different pasuk. The testimony pasuk, the swearing of testimony only applies to money cases because he says if you swear, be guilty in one of these things. What is it? Sometimes you're chayav. If the guy is demanding money from the guy and you want him to swear, chayav, the witness is chayav. They say I don't have testimony. The explanation. In regards to something else, yani in the case of non-monetary items, patur, the witness is be patur. The pasuk says, the witness saw or knew. What does that mean? It's talking about a case that the testimony can be done regarding seeing something without knowing or knowing something without seeing. What does that mean? If was the case of seeing without knowing, someone said I gave $100 to you, but in front of the witnesses, the other guy says, okay, bring him to testify. This is testimony based on seeing without knowing. Because how did I know that it was given as a loan? I just handed the money over. But the guy is saying, if you want to testify, tell him to come. Second case, because that was the case of knowing without seeing. The guy says, you admitted to me in front of the Lord and Shimon, only $100. And the guy says, okay, bring those two witnesses. That's knowledge, because they know about it, because they're admitting in front of them, without seeing it happening. There's one verse different pasuk. Hayev kan. The Torah says you're chayav in the case of swearing falsely by testimony. The hayev can also guard a deposit. Malan is like over there. Enu medaber ela, but if everyone is like over there on case of money, I've come over here as well. Enu medaber like one. Additionally, kavachomer, you're agreeing kavachomer. Not because in case of deposit, she'asa bonashim ka'anashim keruvim kerhakim p'slikashrim, that everybody in these cases are chayav for swearing falsely for testimony. The chayav and also ala kol achad v'achad ben fidin. They have every single oath they swear falsely, whether or not they're in bedin. I do. Therefore, in case of testimony, where you can't, women can't testify like men. Relatives can't swear like non-relatives, can't testify like non-relatives. And people who are pasuk in testimony can't testify like kasher testimony people. They only have one swearing, and it has to be in bedin. Ain't no din, so for sure, it's a kavachomer, logically, should lo yimid the bet, also has to pay money. Brian says, 1 second, it's not good proof. I'm going by the case of deposit. Shekin lost that mushbak nishba. Umizid kinishogeg. But the case of deposit is different because over there, by the case of deposit, testimony, however, meaning a guy is not chayav if someone else tells him to swear. Like, do you swear? And the guy says, yes, will not apply to deposit, only applies to testimony. And also, in a case of by mistake, won't be chayav like a person does it on purpose, like the case of testimony. It's not applied to a case of deposit. Tomar be'ayud, will that you apply the same testimony? Shekin asaba mushbah kanishbah, where a guy can make someone else swear, and also if you do a mistake, it's like as if you did on purpose. Okay, fine. No kavachomer, I'll bring a new proof. Talmud Lomar Tahite Tahite Exer Shiva. The word Tahite will sin from Exer Shiva. In American Tahite regarding testimony swearing, it says the word Tahite. But Nemalan Tahite and also by deposit swearing, it says Tahite. Maladan and I've kind of just like over there's money, so to here is money as well.